it's been quite an interesting week, even though there haven't been some big UFC cards going on.
But there's been a shitload of fight news going down.
A lot of fight news.
So much to actually cover in just one episode as well.
100% is. We'll be covering the UFC fight night, whatever's going on next week as well. There's a lot of weird fight news going around.
Yeah, well, it's not just in the ring, but it's outside of the ring as well. And there's not even that, but we're now going to talk across multiple sports. So, mate, let's fucking start. But I just want to say I am so impressed with the Korean Zombies' performance on yesterday.
Did you see that? Last episode, I was like, oh, no, I can't pick Ige. I changed my mind and I picked Korean Zombie, and I'm so glad I did. It's very hard for me to go against the South Korean fighters.
Well, here's the other thing. It was not just the Korean Zombie, but fucking South Korean fighters had a great performance across the whole card. And you know how that we talk about the curses, there's the Gucci curse, there's the Chael Sonnen curse, there's the Drake curse. I feel like maybe we're starting a bit of our own, the last set blessing, or at least last set predictions blessing, because we're starting to get pretty good at these predictions now, I've got to say. I was pretty wrong on the weekend, but I would say you were right, most of them. Yeah,
I mean, as long as you put a little bit of thought into it and things like that, but it gets better with time and that. Often if you're pretty solid on your pick, with the Korean Zombie versus Dan Ige, we knew that was going to be a fairly close fight. It looked very close in their credentials, right? Korean Zombie obviously had a little bit more of a vet compared to Dan Ige, right? A little bit higher in the rankings, which is very impressive. He's still 34 years old.
Yeah.
And he's had so much time in the UFC. And when I was watching Chael Sonnen break down here, and he's going, I'm going for Dan Ige. And the way he explained, I know that's why it's funny.
Chael Sonnen curse.
I know, but the way he explained why Ige was going to win was why I was like, no, I'm so glad I picked Korean Zombie. It's just I think the best way to get good picks is not to watch fighters. It's really interesting to get little bits of information about them, but fighters can be the most blindly opinionated people to listen to. It's like you're going to get the worst information. You're going to get most likely they've hung out and they're good pals, or they're friends of friends, or they've already fought alongside, or they've been in their old gym. That's where they still train and things like that, or their old head coach trains them. There's always some form of little link, which is why they can be super biased. So when you notice that some fighters are gone, this is our pick and this is why, and it sounds a bit silly and things like that, and it's mainly they're talking very emotionally rather than facts, then that this person's got they've got a little bit of skin in the game themselves. I probably shouldn't listen to them, because they're the same ones that say, all right, mybookie.com or draft picks and things like that. Yeah. Use my code to go, and they're the ones that can make really emotional picks.
Yeah, correct.
And pick the worst fight.
Yeah,
they're so bad. I mean, Chael Sonnen's the worst. He's so bad.
He even admits to it though.
He admits to it, but I've gone a little bit off his listening to him, because I'll come back and forth listening to him, because he keeps on saying, "Oh, Marvin Vettori, I reckon he won the first fight against Izzy." Oh. And I'm like, no, that's not true. And then he picked Marvin to beat Izzy, and I was like, well, that's not happening ever. So when you listen to certain fighters or ex-fighters have picks, you've got to know that there's some form of point of contact which makes them extremely biased and probably not the best source of information.
Yeah, that is true. And also you got to wait for the whole thing to play out. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the thing is with UFC, for MMA in general, it's so bloody hard to predict.
So many ways to lose.
You can. It's if you have, let's say, I'm not a big AFL fan, but if we had the number 1 spot play the number 17 spot, which obviously you don't get that number 1 versus the number 17 fighter, but there's a big fucking difference between the two teams, and it's easy to predict that. But if you have a 4th place against a 6th place, normally you want to go for the 4th place because of the higher rankings, but it doesn't always work like that. Even though if they're the favourite, you get what I mean?
Which is why Dan Ige was the favourite.
Yeah.
Understandably, it showed that Dan Ige did have the power and things like that. It was mainly Zombie's
Durability.
he's definitely got durability. I think some people were questioning his chin a little bit just because once you're known for just walking through shots, that's when that seems to be all you're kind of good for. It seems to be like, and then that ownability starts to deteriorate. Like chin is in limited supply, and then when you get chinned a couple of times, then a lot of people think, oh well, you can't take a shot anymore. Yeah,
well, some people are literally just known for the chins, but once it's cracked, it's cracked. It's not like you can reheal it, you know what I mean?
No. And then if that's what their base is around, being able to take a shot, to give a shot, then at some point, you start to see these fighters fall off, like a Nate Diaz or Tony Ferguson.
Your best defense shouldn't be your face.
No, it shouldn't. But I felt that Zombie was actually doing a lot better in terms of slipping and countering. His counters were solid. It was just he had to be super wary of Dan Ige, because even in that fourth round, I would argue Dan Ige probably won maybe that fourth round, right? He's still dangerous. Dan was 100% very, very dangerous still in the fourth round. So it was mainly the Korean Zombie kind of infiltrating the hole in Dan Ige's game, which was the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Which is what, and congrats to Korean Zombie, because he got a black belt.
That's what I noticed as well. He proved himself, because I wasn't... he first solidified how good he was on the ground, because people forget he was the guy who set up the first twister. He's had some proper wins for submission. But it was also his gas tank. I don't think he was like heavy breathing at all in the first 3 rounds. He was very calm, and he threw a lot of strikes in the first couple of rounds, but they weren't mad swings. They were very well calm, calculated. He was picking him apart. He was really slowing him down.
Controlling pace.
Controlling pace. Especially on the ground. I believe that as soon as he went to the ground, there were times where Zombie just had this really quick transitions, took his back, okay, almost sunk in a rear naked. Nope, okay, get back to side control. Okay, lay down a few shots. He just kept moving around him, and Dan just could not defend, or it took him a while to actually really get control on the ground.
Really, really tight body triangles. And whenever there was one point when Dan actually managed to unlock that body triangle, and then Zombie would just switch it to the other side. It wasn't on the outside of his leg, which out of his opponent's leg, which is what he needed to do. And then he would just switch it. He switched it mid-fight. So when it was an issue of having a body triangle on his right leg, then he just swapped it to the other side, and it wasn't an issue anymore. And a lot of the time, in a couple of those rounds, he would get the body triangle pretty early in the round, maybe 2 or 3 minutes still left on the ground. And it was basically just Zombie just trying his best, trying to get underneath the chin to go for the rear naked choke, because he had a very dominant position in a couple of the early rounds. So he did so well. I was really surprised though about his call out afterwards. He was saying, Max Holloway doesn't have knockout power. I have knockout power. Mm-hmm. Max is a dangerous fight for anyone, including Korean Zombie.
Yeah, I mean, you're no doubt right about that. Also, in terms of difference as well, I was just thinking about Max Holloway's not even 30 yet.
No.
Not even 30, and Korean Zombie's 34 or 34. I'm pretty sure I can't recall, because it must have been a little bit before my time, but I'm pretty sure Max Holloway and Korean Zombie have fought before.
No.
No,
they haven't fought before.
No, they haven't fought before, but it was a good way to set up. However, what I thought Korean Zombie was a perfect case where you take your loss, you turn it, and you use it, and then you use it to improve, and then you get better. We talked about when Korean Zombie fought Ortega. Mm-hmm. Ortega was fucking resurging. He was an animal. He was picking all these better shots, all these better strikes, and spinning elbows. And then Korean Zombie realized, okay, I got to be smarter on the way I got to take this. So I believe he increased his fight IQ a lot. Mm-hmm. So that's why I believe he got the win over.
He's doing quite smart, safe techniques. Yeah. And when he noticed that, he caught a fucking hard one from Dan, he would then regroup and be like, okay, I need to switch something up. And that's when he would mix in takedowns really, really well. The call out was just so weird to me with Max Holloway because Max was supposed to fight Yair Rodriguez, right? And then they fell out because apparently Max has an undisclosed injury, right?
What was the injury again, just for memory?
Undisclosed.
Undisclosed,
So they
okay.
don't know. So why not call out Yair Rodriguez? They've had a fight before. Zombie was gonna beat Yair Rodriguez on the cards, probably 3-2. So and then he got finished in the last couple of seconds by a pretty freak elbow.
Yeah.
So it's one of the freakiest KOs in the UFC or mixed martial arts in general. So why not run that back? Because if Max is already
solidified himself as like not.
No. If he's already out of the picture,
Okay.
right? Because he's got to look after he's got to re-heal from an injury, right? Why not go for his opponent? Because you can't. It doesn't make sense because Korean Zombie wouldn't be able to then skip the queue in front of Yair Rodriguez to fight Max Holloway if they're already supposed to have a fight. The person he should have said, I'll fight, is Yair Rodriguez. He says, that was a freak KO. I was supposed to beat him. I'm going to beat him. And then I'm going to beat Max Holloway, the ex-champ. That's what he probably should have done.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't really get the call out, but fucking fair play to Korean Zombie.